Hello everybody and welcome to this lighting tutorial in which I will show you how we can take this grayish space of an office and add some furniture to it, and then via very simplistic techniques explore different lighting situations. For example, like here, an environment that's just white shining light through the open windows, or how we could use the Sun Sky add-on to simulate an environment including the sun, which, as you can see, based on the time of the day, moves the sun, changes the strength, changes the color of the sun. We will also do an interior lighting with no exterior lights at all, just only interior lights, making use actually of the geometry to limit how the light will illuminate the space to create this effect. And then the finished piece will be this nice evening rendering where we have the light added strategically to simulate LED strips, which are part of the furniture, and then show in the background the image of a city. The file for everything can be downloaded. It's in the download link in the comment section. With all that said, let's get started. Let's go to the top view. And you can see this is kind of like squarish with a door, some sort of a panel wall, a window, some doors, shelves. And here we have a set of furniture. The room is actually oriented correctly. So this is positive y, that's north. So that's east, southwest, meaning this is actually sunrise to sunset. And that is already one of the very important key elements to be aware of. So this, for example, would be sunrise, and then the sun would rise, and then sunset go down. And we can see how the sun might actually shine into that space. That is important to be aware of because when I'm now in top view on orthographic, press B and select the table R minus 90 degrees, and then G, bring this table in front of the window. And let's imagine there's a laptop on it and it's summer and it's a beautiful sunny day. The sun would shine directly into our face, which might be nice to get a tan, but it's not going to be nice for our eyes because we're staring on that display and the sun is behind us. So maybe having the table here might be easier for our eyes, or R and Z minus 90 in this case. Maybe I will sit here, take a look at the space there, but then this entrance area is a little bit awkward, no? And this is then in the end anyway a matter of how to set up the space so it looks nice and good. We will explore the lighting creatively a little bit more. So let's bring this table back to there. Very good. So we said now this is actually east and west. So you can see now when I move my mouse, this kind of like simulates the sun path. Sunrise, noon, sunset. Very good. Okay. Let's continue setting up the space a little bit. AA, B, select this. R minus 90, G, I bring this one to here. And AAB, select this floor lamp, I will maybe put it there. AA, and this is the taller one. B, R, 45, but negative, so minus, enter. G, I will bring this lamp into this corner. So I bounce off the light onto the wall and come back. Now think about also during the night. When I sit there, there's no outside light coming in. If this light is a little bit higher than my eyes, I can't see the light, but then it shines against the wall and then all the light basically bounces back off. A, B, select this. Z and wireframe, B, middle mouse button, deselect this one. I actually decided to bring this one more to there. A, B, bonk, there. Very easy. And Z in solid view. Okay. Yeah, that's actually kind of okay. The interesting thing about lighting and interior design is it's really a matter of making compromises. What works, what doesn't work, when do I work there? For example, for a night person, this might be fine. If a person only sits there during the summer, during noon, this might not be perfect. Or you could also put then blinds down or something. Anyway, the focus of this exercise is not to set up this as a perfect interior space, but more explore how with lights we can visualize or prototype how the space maybe could be set up. So let's start with the sunlight. We can go add, light, and sun. There's the sun. There we are. Very good. I can go to the rotate command, rotate it, move this up a little bit. Where the sun really is, left, right, up and down, doesn't matter. What really is important is the rotation and the direction, because from that's basically the direction the sunlight will come into the space. We will start with Eevee as the render engine, which is nice and fast. So let's turn on the lighting. And there we are. So there we can see how the sunlight comes through. If I now rotate this along the z-axis, left and right, there you can see how the light goes through. There's a little bit of environmental lighting happening. So we go to the world, set this to 0, and we can set this to white. Well, basically, we turned the environmental light off. So we have a harsher contrast. It's easier to see. Very good. We can actually change the radius there a little bit. The downside of this right now is, you see it shines into the room. That's not necessarily very good. We will come to this actually in a moment to how to fix this. I'm right now concerned kind of like with what happens on the table. There, this works really good. Z and solid view. Now, the nice thing about sun lights and sun studies is we can actually figure out when in the year, during what time, where will be the sunlight. So to do this, in Blender, we go to Edit Preferences, Add-ons, simply type in sun, and then here the sunlight position you want to turn on. You can also click on documentation to read more about it. Very good. And then inside the world, you will see here sun position. First thing what we want to do is we would like to use this as our sun. So the sun is actually still there, but just it got moved to somewhere else. It's all good. Then we want now to enter the coordinates. So I'll go to, for example, here I typed in latitude, now I looked for Detroit. This is basically here the DMS coordinates. I can copy this and then paste this one in there. Look what happens when I press enter. So now the sun is actually there. And then use day of the year. Now day 5, month, year, and then look here, local time is 12. Well, no, it's not. It is actually kind of, yeah, it's actually around 2. So we can see it's really low sunlight right now. Now we also have daylight savings options and such we can turn on. But basically now here you see when I go through the time, you see how beautiful actually it calculates the sun motion. Let's say month, maybe September. Wow, you see how high the sun is? It's actually pretty cool. So that's the reason why during the summer it's really hot and during the winter it is actually less, because the sun is really, where we are right now, really low. Okay, very good. So let's go back to our time. There we are. Whoops, sorry for the crazy rotation. And there. Okay, so now since we want to quickly also see how could this look from the inside, first, in this view, Shift A, make a camera. And then this camera, I move back to here. I can press N, and then here I type in 0, tap 0, 0, 0, enter. Very good. This I need to rotate. So 180, and then along the x-axis 90. Very good. Bring this back, bring this to here. Move this up. I will right click, split horizontal, and right click, split vertical, and then here I click on camera. NNT. So this is my camera view. The camera, I'm actually in metric, no, imperial, so 6 feet, let's say eye height, or 5 feet for smaller people. Let's go to the camera. We would like to adjust the clipping. To see this, actually, we can go to viewport and limits. And then when I start the clipping, you see the yellow dot getting closer, and now it goes through the book rack, and there's actually now my wall, the space I can look into. I can lower this a little bit. There we are. Very nice. And now I need to get actually a plane on top. So add and plane. I will turn on point snapping. I press G, move my mouse to this corner, hold Control and left mouse button click. Then I go into edit mode, edge select, select this edge, move this, hold Control, release the left mouse button, hold Control, go to here, release the left mouse button, release Control, A, E, simply click and then say 10 inches. AA, Shift N, so to make sure all the normals are correct. Because you see now there we have actually a floor on top. And now if here we turn on the rendering, now you see actually it does not add anything to it. So we go back to our sun here. Now you can see how we can change this. Now this looks actually really, really good. This works quite well. So Eevee is actually super fast. It's not super realistic. So this is then when, if we like something, we could go to cycles, take a quick look, and then you can see how the sunlight comes through. Particularly with light studies, it takes a lot of computational time indoors, so I turn everything on for max samples in denoiser 1010. So this renders actually pretty decently fast. And the sun is also a really strong light. So maybe 3. This is very easy to adjust when you sit in a room and you see how bright something is. In the morning, the sun is actually not as strong, and then during the day, this will get stronger. But you can see now this actually starts to look pretty good. In the evening there, really nice. Okay, when we go back to the sun, and I changed this now to shader editor, use nodes, very good. Add converter, black body, put this in, and then we change this to 5000. So we can actually also give this a natural color. The later it will be, the maybe more orange the light might get. So let's go with 4000 Kelvin. 3000. Now you see this gets a different glow. Again, yeah, which color do you use? observe nature. Our main goal here is not to be, and we cannot be physically accurate. This is more kind of like in a suggestive way, trying to make this look believable. That's all we need to do. Very good. So, that's actually pretty cool. You see then the sunlight hits the wall, bounces off, and brightens up the whole space. Very good. There's actually another additional functionality in sun position to illuminate our environment, and that is with a sky texture. As preparation for that, this sun I will keep so I know always where the sun is, but turn the emission down to 0 so it's black. Then in the world, I will scroll up. Strength, I will set to 1. So it's like simply white. Then I go click on color, sky texture. That's all I need to do. And then here, sun position, sky texture, select this one. And there, now you see we are actually inside a 360 environment. I keep this sun as an object still present, but with the emission down to 0, so I can always see where the sun actually will be. And then when I play with this setting, you see how beautifully these interior spaces can look. And it actually, this sky texture, besides just the sunlight, it also does actually take care of the coloring. That is why I find this so beautiful and extremely functional. So kind of like early morning, I mean, look at this shimmer. This is just perfect. During the day, the sun is really very bright. This might look way too bright. Probably also is. Our eyes also adjust to brightness. Unlike cameras, we can adjust to darkness and brightness much better. Let's turn this one down. So visually it actually looks, for example, better. Might actually really have to play with these values now till this looks kind of like okay. And then when we go back to the evening here, there, now we can just then bring these values back. Now, everything what we do here is a little bit more artistic. So that means what is the correct value, what to use for the strength, etc. Well, it's a matter of preference. Also the matter of what you would like to say or to express. The best way to figure out how it has to look is take photos, study environments. Because then at this time, this year, it will look like this. This is a really good exercise to do throughout a year or maybe throughout the day, morning, noon, evening, to get a good idea for how bright something is and what the colors are. Very good. But you see, this is actually really very easy to use, and the colors are just, and the mood, it really speaks for itself. Now, this only has actually this environment and the horizon and the colors. It doesn't have any clouds, etc. I can turn, for example, transparent on. Then I see this is free. I could, if I want, load, for example, one of these HDRI images behind. I would suggest not to use these because the problem is the sun is fixed in the image. We can't make the sun move. We can rotate this image, but it doesn't really allow us to explore lighting morning, noon, evening, night, for example. Or if such an image works, okay, then you can use this image only to illuminate. But if I want, for example, to make this look like on a cornfield in a city, 5th floor in New York, I just would find the perfect photo that perspectively would match also the lighting of the day and put this in Photoshop behind this image. This is transparent. So when this is all rendered out and composited, it will look like this is photographed somewhere in Michigan during kind of like sunset. Okay, that's basically all that's there to know about how to work with the sun and the sun environment as a lighting tool. So with that said, Z and solid, let's go back into the normal mode and let's focus on how we can work with basic lights. I will switch to Eevee because Eevee is very fast to render. And I will also go to the environment and set this strength to 0 so it doesn't impact it. Z and rendered. That should be pitch black. Oh, there's somewhere a sun. Oh, there's my sun. And 0. Very good. Okay. I zoom into here a little bit. There's my 3D cursor, Shift A and light. So we have point, sun, spot, and area. Now, sun basically we covered, and then we have point, that's kind of like a sphere, light bulb, spot, kind of like a flashlight, and area, it's a surface that emits light. I will actually do it this way. This top piece, I will find here, and then I turn it off so we don't see this right now. Very good. Okay. Shift A, add a point light. So the point light, as you can see, is like a light bulb. No? What is really quite nice, what you can do with the light bulb. So now you can see when we move this under the ceiling, it really emits the light kind of like the way how in real life it would be 360 degrees. What is very important to know about lights in general, also in Blender, they very often have a size. So this is now a 3-inch sphere that emits the light, or 6 inches. No? Why is this important? Here, check this out. Go to a front view in wireframe mode. Then I press G and move this where this light lampshade is, and then top view, bring this one down. Okay, you see, yeah, it is kind of inside, but the shadows don't really work. You see this ring is outside the body. If we set this to 1 inch, ta-da! Now actually the lampshade is really casting the shadows. See, this is how easy it is to design, by the way, a light, a physical one. Shift D and make a copy. Bring this over to here. Go to top front view, move this one down, top view, zoom in, and kind of like try to position it where this should be. Okay. No, not too bad. And there we can see how much light this really touches. When we switch, by the way, to cycles, you will see this is much more realistic now, because then the light bounces off from the walls, illuminates all the other spaces, but it takes a little bit longer, which is why quite often I switch between Eevee and cycles to quickly plan something out, because here I can see it primarily hits the walls. The spotlight, now we can add one spotlight, Shift A, light, there's a spotlight. It's a huge cone. There we are. Top view, go to here, bring this down, and there we can see this cone. In case we would rotate the cone, for example, there you see how now the light is on the wall. Spotlights are kind of useful actually in gallery spaces when you want to focus light directly on a certain area. And then we have, now besides power, we have the radius to make this, I mean, this is actually again just the light size, but then this is the cone. You can see how we can open or close it. And then also here we have a blend to make this softer or stronger. I find for interior spaces, this one kind of difficult to use, so bonk, delete. We do have the book rack. That's quite interesting. There's something architecturally we can play with. So let's add an area light. So the area light is just a huge surface. Now go to a top view, bring this to here. Then this I would like to change to a rectangle. And then I can kind of like scale this so it fits in. And now I have this idea of, okay, I would like to have under the lower board a light. Shift D and X, bring this over. Oh, look at that. Kind of cool, huh? Shift D and Z, bring them up. Maybe one there. Or I could also say, go to a side view, RX 180, I rotated it. Maybe just be on top. Okay, now this is currently black because Cycles does not calculate the light bouncing. So this is good. Shift D and X, bring this one over. Top view, I press 7 on the numpad. Here, there. Okay, sure. Let's go back into Cycles. Look at that. It's actually quite interesting what you can do with the lighting and explore different ideas how this could all work out and look. Either only the lights inside the lamp shade, or actually this, for example, could be LED strips, which are recessed into the wooden boards, so I don't, or shelf boards, so I don't see them, but they will illuminate the spaces. And also now the furniture, we don't want to ignore either. So I would like a area lamp that faces down. There we are. Now Shift D and make a copy, bring this one over to here. This is kind of like a squarish furniture piece, so I will set this to a square. Scale this one down. There, maybe. Now there you can see there's a little bit of light inside each. And then, actually, hold on. I will select this one. And now instead of Shift D, I will press Control D, Alt D. That makes a clone. Alt D and then Z, bring this one up. And when I change the value of one light, you see the other light actually adapts. Quite cool. So you see I can dim this down a little bit more. If I press 0 to look into here, and there you can see, oh, there's a little bit of light energy. So for example, all these I can link. I select them all, link object data, and then when I set this to 0, flop, they're all turned off. You see there's no light coming back. And even under the table, maybe we would like to have an LED light under the table. I can select this, but with Shift D, I make a new copy. There we are. Bring this to there. Let's maybe turn this into an LED strip, like of a shape. Front view, I just have to move it roughly under it. There we are. 1. Look at that. It's kind of cool actually how it illuminates, for example, the chair, that the contrast it generates. We can also play with the lights, the colors. So I have the lamp selected, use nodes. There is now the ability to add, for example, a black body to change this. So look at this. So for example, here, I would like to select this and this. I make him the same, so I link him, cuts down my work, use nodes, add black body converter, 4000, no, so, or 5000. You see how this is not pure white anymore. There we are, and then maybe here, this now, I can use a black body 6800, so more like a bluish light, or if this really truly should be some crazy LED, yeah, and just pick the light now you want. So I can also Control C, copy that color. I select this light. Control V, paste in that color. You see now these 3 lights have exactly the same color. The ceiling actually was gone, so I turn this back in. This is kind of like important because it bounces light back down. The last thing maybe that's now good actually to explain that then goes into the rendering is adding more cameras. So I could go to top view, Shift A, add a camera. There it is. Z, turn off the rendering so it's faster, move the camera up. Then this object I would like to be my camera, view, select as active camera. Okay, can go into top view, move this around. See, this is my camera, rectangular, squarish, I mean. Let's make this nice and square. Very good. Yeah, I'm gonna bring this one down. So trying to frame actually the space correctly. Okay, there we are. And also here again with the camera selected, show me the limits. There we are. And then till I'm starting to look through the ceiling. There. So I could have turned off the ceiling, but then the lights would actually get out of the room by having the camera actually looking through the ceiling. It still, yeah, renders it like with the ceiling physically present on top. Oh yeah, this one should be off. There we are. Oh, look at that. Now you see how everything gets darker. Here are my light sources, maybe 1 watt or 0. Oh, look at this. How cool does this look like now with the LED stuff? Maybe let's go to this other view again. So this camera, go set active camera. Oh, it looks actually really nice. But having everything else turned off, now I'm playing with the color and the shapes. This looks quite nice and mysterious. You can also see there is something here to the right of the table. Now that's the lampshade. A little bit of light hides it, but it doesn't show it too much. It's a quite nice composition. So this is essentially how easy then it is to create different views, different cameras to look into the space. And this is like a top view perspective. This is an elevation view perspective. If we would set this to be orthographic, Control 0. Now there you see. Now this is, yeah, it's an orthographic rendering. It has no perspective distortion. So if you need to actually have a plan view, elevation view, that's the way how you can do it. Okay, very good. Let's bring this exercise to an end by creating a nice evening rendering. Here is my camera, horizontal one, and I will switch to this camera in this view. And now through the windows, I would like to see an evening city skyline. Go to Chrome, type in city night, and you will see quite a lot of search results. This actually works really good. This image will give us the impression we're probably a little bit above the ground. So maybe, I don't know, 10th floor or something. You have to be a little bit careful about also what type of image you select. Here we can clearly see we're on the street. And here we're actually looking down. That does not really work well with the camera we have inside our 3D scene in Blender. So this will work really good. Then in Blender, we want to bring in this image really easy. Go to Preferences and then type in here image, and this image import as plane you want to have turned on. When this is turned on in the 3D view, Shift A, image, image as plane. And then I have, for example, here 2 different images. I will select this one, import Z in solid. There it is. I can scale this one up, bring this back to here, bring this up. Okay, we don't really see anything. And well, that is because we're just using this image as a billboard. It doesn't have any light. There is no light, which is why this is black outside. So the trick here is to turn this billboard into an LED billboard, if you want to say it that way. So the color information we pipe into the emission. So we color actually the light. And look at that. There it is. So here's Z and rendered. And there you can see this is actually now a light emitting piece. We can move this further away. Now, obviously, if we get really close or further away, you can see more of the image, gives you a better look of the scenery. We can make this image also bigger. We can move this up and down, move this left and right. Yeah, and that's a technique how you can fake, yeah, something like this, so that this looks like an evening rendering. Now in the image, actually, we can see this is slightly elevated. So if I scale this down a little bit, yeah, now you start noticing because of the other objects and the houses here that this must be slightly elevated off the ground. The last thing maybe to consider is strength. Now this is really bright. 4. This is actually now really emitting actually light. 0.5. This is dimmer. So we can try to tone it down. So just through the window in the background, but we pay more attention to what's happening inside the room. Or we can also draw attention to it. 0.8 is kind of like what I like. Very nice. So the last thing to do now a good rendering is we want to position the camera and crop everything. Here is the output. So this is more horizontal wide than vertical high. X is horizontal. So 800. Nope. Wrong way. Wah, wah. There we are. To finish up now our rendering, I am going to press Z in solid and select my camera and move the camera a little bit further in because I want most of this scene fill the camera. Currently it does not. And you notice when I move the camera in, this gap still maintains. That's because we have the clipping here turned on. So I turn most of the clipping back. Then I see the book rack. It would kind of be funny to render through the book rack. And then I move the camera a tick more forward. Very good. Now I can see that everything we see through the camera is actually kind of like filling the space. This is really nice. Very good. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Before we go into the final render setting, there's one last thing what I would like to go to or go back to, and that's actually kind of like tone mapping. When you have a smartphone and you photograph from inside a house to the outside, or if you're outside and you photograph into a house, you will notice that you can either expose the image for the bright or the dark areas, but not both. Our human eye is much more capable of adjusting to bright and dark at the same time. You see in the image, everything in the corners is kind of very dark, and also the chair is kind of dark. That's kind of cool actually. Now that's this part of the mood. But if we would like to adjust everything, we don't necessarily need to change all the lights. We can adjust the way how this image is tone mapped. So we can go to the render properties, scroll down till we see color management. And then here we have exposure and gamma. Think about this as brightness and contrast. So with exposure, now we make this darker or brighter there. And gamma, now it's kind of like also the contrast. Okay, so you see a little bit of gamma. Now, can actually brighten this up already. If we make this brighter, then actually this actually works too, but also the brights get really much brighter. That's a matter of preference, how you would like to work and adjust these colors. There, that's actually not too bad. We can see a little bit more now in these corners. Very good. Now everything for the recording purpose and also because it's preview work is set to render fast, so the denoiser is really strong. If I take a look into these details here, this is kind of very wavy. A lot of details are being lost. So let's go back to render settings. This is the viewport. We're done with this, and now it's time to talk about the render settings. So you can work, for example, with something like 4000. That's really high. And then we also have a noise threshold. Basically, what this means is if we then go ahead and click render, you see the software render works towards 4000. It's not necessarily that it stops when it reached 4000, because this noise threshold kind of like will make a decision for us when the noise is gone to a good degree, then it will simply stop and the denoiser will kick in. So you can keep this at, let's say, 4000 and let the software do the work for you. Now this is now actually 200. If I want to always just have a hard stop at 200, I can put this in 200. I don't know how long actually this rendering will take, so I will keep this working and I pause for a moment and then I will be back. And here is the final rendering. It took 1 minute 51 seconds. I noticed that actually after 2000 samples, the samples went up really fast. So it didn't really take that long as anticipated. I did also, just for comparison, make a rendering just with 200 samples. And here it is. Look at that. There isn't really much of a difference, no? So 200 samples. The really noticeable difference in this rendering is actually the shadow here. And for example, some of these lines with only 200 samples, they feel kind of like a little bit wonky because the denoising started to blur the noise and out and kind of like, yeah, made it a little bit more smushy. This is an environment without any wood textures or so. When you would have wood textures, then you would have to need more samples anyway. But in a nice rendering like this, where we just have a generic environment, no materials, and we just work with the light, we can do these light studies really in no time. This image is done, it's finished. Now we can go ahead, go to Save As, and simply save it on the desktop as a PNG. And that's it.